The Monkey Paw 1, The Embrace of Shadows. In the forgotten corners of the world, where mysticism and darkness intertwine, the cursed artifact known as the Monkey's Paw continues its sinister journey through time and space. Originating from ancient Eastern rituals, the paw was once part of a sacred monkey, believed to be a conduit between the earthly realm and the spectral world. A dark sorcerer, seeking to manipulate fate, cursed the paw to grant wishes, 3 to each possessor. However, these wishes come with a dire caveat: each is twisted to show the folly of tampering with fate, often bringing catastrophic consequences to those who dare invoke its power. As decades turned into centuries, the monkey's paw found its way across continents and cultures, materializing mysteriously in the lives of unsuspecting individuals. Its appearance is always preceded by an air of ominous coincidence, turning up in old, forgotten shops, at peculiar auctions, or among the personal effects in an inherited estate. Those who encounter the paw are often at a juncture in their lives, desperate for change or hungry for fortune, making them vulnerable to the paw's malevolent allure. The curse of the monkey's paw is relentless. Once a wish is made, the gears of fate begin to turn irrevocably. The fulfillment of these wishes is a macabre echo of the wisher's desires, twisted to reveal the hidden costs of meddling with destiny. As each wish unfolds, it leaves a trail of horror and despair, a stark reminder of the paw's dark origins and the price of human greed. Thus, the monkey's paw drifts through the ages, an eternal testament to the perils of wishful thinking and the inevitable doom that follows those who seek to control fate itself. Each holder, bewitched by the promise of power, finds themselves caught in a web of tragic events, as the paw waits patiently for the next bearer to continue its dreadful legacy. Chapter 1, The Fateful Find. In the quaint town of Elderwood, nestled between whispering forests and gentle hills, Julia Walden lived a life tinted with monotony. A librarian by profession, she spent her days amongst books and quiet corners, her evenings in the modest solitude of her ancestral home. At 35, Julia's romantic life was a series of unremarkable memories, flickering like dim stars on a cloudy night. One crisp autumn morning, as Julia sorted through a donation box filled with dusty books and faded papers for the library, her fingers brushed against something unusual. It was a grotesque object, a dried-up monkey's paw, its leathery skin taut over gnarled bones. A chill ran down her spine as she examined it, yet a strange compulsion urged her to keep it. Tucked inside the box was a yellowed note, barely legible, which whispered of the paw's ability to grant one wish to its holder. Skeptical yet intrigued, Julia slipped the ominous relic into her purse, unaware of the profound changes it was about to bring to her life. Chapter 2, A Lonely Heart's Wish. That evening, under the soft glow of her living room lamp, Julia found her thoughts returning to the monkey's paw. The loneliness of her life weighed heavily on her as she turned the paw over in her hands. "I wish to find my true love," she whispered, half in jest, to the empty room. The weeks that followed seemed uneventful, until the night of the town's annual harvest festival. It was there that she met Elias. Mysterious and intensely charismatic, he appeared out of nowhere, his gaze locking with hers across the crowded town square. There was something almost otherworldly about him, a magnetic allure that drew Julia in irrevocably. Chapter 3, The Seductive Stranger. Elias was unlike anyone Julia had ever known. He spoke with an accent that couldn't be placed, his stories filled with far-off places and adventures. Each word he uttered seemed wrapped in enigma, each glance held a promise of deeper, darker secrets. As their connection deepened, Julia felt a passion awaken within her that she had never experienced before. But as their romance blossomed, strange occurrences began to unfold. At night, Julia would wake up from dreams of shadowy figures and eerie whispers, her heart pounding fiercely in her chest. Elias's visits grew more frequent, and with each visit, Julia felt a growing fatigue, as if her very essence was being drained away. Chapter 4: The Consuming Shadow. Months passed, and Julia's friends began to notice changes. Once vibrant and cheerful, she had become withdrawn, her eyes shadowed and distant. Concerned, her best friend, Anne, confronted her, but Julia dismissed her worries, attributing her pallor and listlessness to mere fatigue. However, inside, Julia felt trapped in a fog. Her moments with Elias, once filled with excitement, now felt suffocating, yet she was unable to stay away from him. He had become her obsession, her every thought consumed by his presence. One night, driven by a sinking feeling of dread, Julia reached out into the darkness, seeking answers. With trembling hands, she whispered into the void, yearning to uncover Elias's true nature. That night, in her dreams, a vision unfolded before her. Elias, bathed in an unearthly glow, revealed himself as an ancient entity, feeding on the love and life force of mortal beings. Julia awoke with a scream, the chilling truth clawing at her mind. Chapter 5: The Desperate Escape. The realization of her perilous reality crashed upon Julia like cold waves. She knew she had to escape Elias's grasp. Desperate, she sought help from a local historian, who was versed in supernatural lore. Together, they delved into ancient texts and obscure rituals that could sever her ties with Elias. Armed with newfound knowledge and a fragile hope, Julia confronted Elias. In a confrontation charged with power and fear, she performed the ritual, her voice steady as she recited the ancient incantations. Elias, his form flickering between man and shadow, roared in defiance. As the ritual reached its climax, he did not falter but instead grew stronger, his form stabilizing and becoming more formidable. With a surge of dark energy, he overwhelmed the ritual, breaking through the constraints of the incantations. The room fell silent not from his departure, but because he had won, standing triumphant as Julia's strength waned, leaving her to face the grim reality of his enduring presence. Chapter 6: Consumed by Shadows. In the aftermath, Julia's existence spiraled into darkness, her life irrevocably altered by her encounter with Elias. The vibrant woman who once filled the library's halls with laughter had vanished, replaced by a shell, her spirit dimming as each day passed. Despite her attempts to sever ties with Elias, his shadow lingered, an inescapable presence that haunted her every step. Her smiles, once bright and genuine, had become fleeting and forced. The darkness within her grew, fed by the remnants of Elias's malevolent energy. As days turned into months, Julia found herself increasingly detached from the world around her, her essence slowly being siphoned away by the unseen force that Elias had anchored within her. One eerie, moonless night, Julia wandered through the mist-shrouded lanes of Elderwood, her steps aimless, her eyes empty of life. The townsfolk, who once greeted her warmly, now watched from a distance, whispering about the lonely librarian who had dabbled in forces beyond her comprehension. As the darkness consumed her, Julia's moments of clarity became rarer. She was plagued by visions of shadowy figures and haunted by a chilling cold that clung to her skin. Her life force ebbed away, leaving her frail and pallid, a ghost among the living. Finally, one winter's dawn, Julia disappeared without a trace. Her home lay empty, a layer of frost coating the windows, the air thick with the scent of oblivion. She had become one with the shadows that had so relentlessly pursued her, her essence fully absorbed by the dark entity that was Elias. Her last breath was a whisper lost in the wind, her spirit extinguished as she vanished into the darkness that had coveted her from the very beginning. Elderwood never forgot Julia, the librarian who vanished into the night. Her tale became one of caution, spoken of in hushed tones by the hearth fires. And somewhere, in the dark corners of the world, the malevolent force that had claimed her continued its eternal search for new prey, weaving an endless tapestry of sorrow and despair. As the quiet of Elderwood settled over the place Julia once called home, the malevolent whispers of the past stirred anew. Unseen in the shadows, the cursed monkey's paw found its way into the hands of an unsuspecting traveler, its withered form as menacing as ever. With each passing, the sinister relic journeyed, crossing lands and seas, appearing innocuously in dusty antique shops or forgotten attic boxes. Time and again, it surfaced, waiting for the next weary soul to grasp its promise of power. And so, as the moon cast a silver glow over another distant town, the paw prepared to weave its dark magic once more, its ancient curse eager to claim new lives in its unending quest to fulfill twisted desires and tragic fates. Dare to venture into the unknown. Join us on a journey where shadows whisper and secrets lurk. Subscribe now and ring the bell to summon fresh mysteries directly to your screen every few days. Ignore this call, and be warned, an eternal curse awaits those who wander in the dark, unguided. Do you have the courage to face the unknown? Your adventure begins with a click. Welcome to the realm where every notification brings you closer to the abyss. Subscribe, if you dare.